Welcome, everybody. It is What's Your Bacon in 7 questions. Our Bacon is my podcast. Our guest today, we have Chad from Bridge the Gap. Bridge the Gap is, let's see, excellent punk band, yes. Mm-hmm. They followed up their EP Secret Combinations. They're following up now. Sophomore album Gainsayer is coming out April 11th. They gave me a huge amount of Bad Religion vibes when I listened to the first record, which I absolutely love. So I really dug it quite a bit. The single Brothers is out now on all streaming platforms. You can check that out. Go to bridgethegappunk.com. You can find all the stuff. We have Chad. Welcome, dude. What's up?
Hey, guys. Mike, Jimmy, I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, of course. We're excited, too. Like, guys, go check out the new single, yes. Brothers. The video, I watched it like 3 or 4 times myself. And not just because the music was really, really awesome, but to look at all the memorabilia there was. I happen to be a huge Ninja Turtle fan. So I was like, oh, what else do they have on the walls? I got to see. So I love that. Whose room was that, by the way?
Dude, I feel bad because I can't remember what it's called, but so we went to Vegas to shoot that, to work with Eric Cannon, the director, and on that one hit Justin as well. But so we had a few ideas, we had floated whatever, but Eric kind of had something in mind, and so I show up. I'm like, we show up. What's the plan? He's like, well, I've actually found this site we're going to shoot at. It's pretty cool. It's like nostalgic. I think it'll fit because you guys are like a 90s band, and the song, the subject matter and stuff like that. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's just, let's go vintage. So we show up to this neighborhood. It's a house, and behind it, it's like a little bungalow house, like a smaller version of the house, and that's on the curb. We go back there, open the door, and it's probably like 10 by 10. Like, it actually makes it look a little bit bigger in the video, but it's just this little room, and it's just stocked to the gills with stuff. And what we learned is there's places like that. It's more common, especially in the bigger markets, like media markets, where it's almost like a VRBO, where content creators, models, music videos, whatever, podcasts, they can go rent the space and make content, and they can arrange it the way they want, what items. And in this particular case, the fella that owned it, he's like big into all the toys and memorabilia. So there was like Michael Jackson stuff, as you mentioned, Ninja Turtles, the Big Lebowski, there was Star Wars. And so it was kind of cool, but yeah, and people just rent them for content like Eric did. He rented it for us to shoot a music video, and then it'll be used probably in other ways. Who knows? But it was rad.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's really cool. Nice. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
So yeah,
it's pretty badass.
Yeah. Very cool.
Nice.
So what we've decided to do is we take 7 questions from a pool of a few, right?
Right.
And it's questions that we've lovingly distilled to get the consumers of Bacon Is My Podcast to get to know you, the cockles of your heart,
yes,
a little bit better.
We're gonna go spelunking into your heart piece.
So, Chad, are you ready for the world to know just exactly who you are?
Let's go. Yeah.
Nice. We're going to get in the nooks and crannies of your muffin. Question number 1. How many pillows is too many?
2.
2 is too
many.
All right.
I'm a 1 pillow guy.
1 pillow man.
My wife hates it because I don't know why I do this, but I always fold it in half and then lay on it that way.
Okay.
When I'm going to sleep, and it like ruins the pillow? She buys, like destroys them a lot faster, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Now, would a folded pillow kind of be approximating 2 pillows, though?
Well, it depends on, like if you're a turner.
That's true.
Well, it's kind of like this. I take it long ways, I fold it in half. So now it's basically, long ways, it's half what it was. And then I kind of, I don't know how to explain it. I just kind of roll it a little bit. So it's not like the full effect of what it would be 2 pillows,
Right,
it's more
right.
like a rolled effect with a nice little base on it. It keeps my neck the way it's
I was
comfortable.
gonna say it gives you a little bit more support under one part and
Yeah.
a little cush under the next part.
Once I fall asleep, all bets are off because I move a
Right.
lot in my sleep, you know. But that's just like when I'm trying to like, you know, finally drift off.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Makes sense. All right. Question number 2. What is the perfect pizza order?
The perfect piece of what?
Pizza order.
Pizza?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I like, you know, I'm not a vegetarian, but I always get a little suspect about like, I don't know, I have like a weird peccadillo about trusting meat and stuff. So when I get pizza, I'll eat pepperoni, don't get me wrong, but like I like veggie deluxes with a white sauce. And if you can throw you know, artichoke hearts on it and some jalapenos, I'll be a happy boy.
Nice.
I like artichoke hearts are grossly underrated.
Yeah. I agree. They give a nice.
I love throwing that on pizzas, in pasta, you name it. I'm in.
What do we? So is this distrust of meat across the board, or is it just on like pizza
Dude,
or sandwiches?
It's so irrational. It's an irrational thing.
Okay.
It's hard to defend something, and I can overcome it, you know, and stuff like. But I don't know where it comes from, dude. Also, I used to be a lot more like picky about it. I'm not as much, far less since I had kids, but
Right.
I used to just be really picky about eating meat when I was out, like eating out. But if I'm at a steakhouse, I'll crush a steak. I'm not ordering a steak from Chili's or
okay.
like,
Right. I got you.
Applebee's or something. But if I'm at a legit steakhouse, which is pretty rare, but if I am, you know, I'll order the steak. But I don't know. I think it stems from when I was a kid and I was learning about all the different forms of punk rock that was out there, you know, like in the 90s, early mid 90s. Eventually I found this New York band called Shelter, which was a bunch of dudes from Youth of Today and a bunch of other like clean living type bands, and some of them were straight edge, but they weren't like preachy straight edge like, you know, a lot of that stuff became in the 90s. It was more about like, you know, Dharma punks, clean living, that kind of thing. Anyway, they had this record that came out, I think it was like 98-ish, called Mantra. And I think it was that one. It might have been the one after. Either way, I flipped open the, you know, I'm a guy who reads the lyrics, reads where it was recorded, even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And their pamphlet of their CD sleeve at the time, I wasn't buying vinyl then. It was just this long presentation about the evils of factory farming, and not only like how evil it is for, you know, what it does to how animals are treated and all that, but like byproduct and all this stuff. And it scared me, dude. Like at the time I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this was a thing. And so I think that kind of fed it for a long time. Like I actually tried going veggie for like, I don't know, it lasted maybe 6 months. I wasn't very dedicated to it, but I think it kind of fed my paranoia a little bit.
Gotcha. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Sure. Like I learned about factory farm and all that stuff kind of the same time period in the same way.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like bands or people that I was like into would put something out, and I was and you learn about it and you're like, oh damn. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And it kind of did a similar thing to me for a little while. Like I was more like, okay, if I cook it, I'm good with everything.
Right.
I'm fine with it. If I picked it out and I'm cooking it, I'm good with everything. Since then, like now I don't care. I just wherever I am, I'm just like, what's going to kill me the least on this menu? What looks the least? It's either what's going to kill me the least or what looks the most delicious, and let's go gluttony. Either one of those things. But I totally feel that, man. Like it was like the same impressionable young kid. And like I'm getting it, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
absolutely makes a lot of sense.
But I'm also the guy, like if you ever go to whatever neighborhood potlucks or a funeral or a party, and everyone brings a dish type thing, I will not eat there. Like I don't know what it is, dude. And see, again, it's irrational because I'll go to a restaurant and people I don't know making food, and for the most part, it's no problem. I have my preferences of foods I like and whatnot.
Sure.
I'm putting meat out of it completely, just food.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I'll go to any kind of like potluck situation. I'm not eating that food. So again, it's so irrational. Like you can quickly obliterate it through reason, but tell that to my subconscious.
But you know what? You'll never get sick from it.
I wish.
You'll never get sick from it.
I feel
You'll never eat some bad mac and cheese from a neighbor.
I definitely won't. That's for
right.
sure.
So I think there's pluses. There's pluses to it, man.
Yeah.
All right, we're on question number 3. If you could choose any animal as a battle companion, what would it be?
Man, as a battle companion,
Yes.
you know, I'd have to go with one of those badass German shepherds, because if you're going to battle, you need a companion that's going to like work with you,
Right.
and listen to a point, right? And so I don't know how well you could train. Like it'd be easy to say like a silverback gorilla or something like gnarly, or a cheetah or a lion or something, but like how is that really going to work out when the bullets start flying? Are they going to listen to you? But you can train a dog to do that stuff.
That's
so just
true.
find the biggest, meanest dog that will listen and that you can actually strategize with to a point. You know, you can be involved in the strategy, and that you make the strategy, and then when you say, hey, do this, go that, take that dude out. I don't know that a gorilla would be able to, he'd be like, whatever, and go off and do his own thing. You know, I don't know if I could trust him when the chips were down.
Right. He'd tell you that in sign language.
Right. Yeah.
But also
dogs are the most loyal of all animals, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. So yeah, I can see that. We get a lot of good answers to this one, and it's interesting because sometimes people are doing fantastical creatures, and they're just like we've gotten a hippo with rocket launchers.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which I'm like, all right, hippos are mean.
Yeah.
They're evil, mean.
Really awful.
They are, dude.
We got like I want to be able to control wasps and just have an armada of wasps. I'm like, that's a good one too. But I like that when we get the practical ones too, it's like,
sure,
dude, you can train a dog, and a dog's loyal, and a dog will pull you to safety. like you get shot, those wasps are gone.
Yeah. Well, they're gone, or they're stinging you.
Yeah, right. You get shot, and your dog will pull you out of the line of fire.
Yeah. I like that. I like that answer.
Dogs are the best.
Yeah, dogs are the best.
I like it.
Love it. All right, question number 4. We're going to go true or false on this one. Chad, cereal is a soup.
False.
Quickly.
Very quickly.
Quickly, right in there too, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing. It's American, because I like watching. Again, rationality goes out the window, but I do like watching. Not a lot. Some of these things won't line up, is what I'm saying. I do like watching foodie stuff, like content on YouTube and stuff like that.
Sure,
and
sure.
I know there's a lot of cultures that have cold soup. They'll eat this. It's literally made to be eaten cold.
Gazpacho,
but to me, soup's got to be piping hot, or else it's not soup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that cold soup is definitely trash.
Yeah, agreed.
But in the eyes of the rest of the world, it is still soup.
Definition wise, technically speaking, I can be swayed either direction.
Sure.
But if I'm going with my gut, I also want my soup to be hot.
Yes. Yeah, there's something to it sticking to your ribs.
Yeah,
in
I don't
a
know.
cold weather situation.
If I eat a food that is meant to be hot, or served hot, sometimes, for example, I might be 15 minutes late to the dinner table or something. I'm microwaving that for like 15 seconds. Like I got to eat it hot. I don't know what it is. My wife, not so. My kids, not so. Like it could be dinner was done 20 minutes ago and everybody finally comes to the table or whatever. They'll sit and eat at room temperature. I can't do that, dude. Like, so that same thing applies to soup. Hot.
Dude, I'm with you on that. Like it's one of the things like that I've struggled a bit with, like weight and overeating in my life, but because I eat so much food while it's still hot because I eat fast.
Yeah.
And so I don't realize when I'm full. Like my body's like, yo, yeah, you were full 10 minutes ago, but we just got it now. So you've been overeating.
Yeah. My old job used to I used to have a saying, and it was eat quick or eat cold.
Right.
And that's
you're just like fast.
not great. But
I eat
also
fast too. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's like if you're brought up poor, you just eat faster. I don't know what it is.
That true. Poor and like with siblings.
True.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like we would order a pizza, and if you ate your pizza slice slow, everyone else in the room ate like 3 pieces and you were done.
Right.
So you were like, you grabbed 3 and you were like, oh no.
You were stacking it on a plate.
Yeah, you were stacking it on a plate. So yeah, same thing. Poor and with siblings. That was that was my life. That was welcome to it. But yeah, ate fast.
Understood.
Ate fast. I like it. All right. Question number 5. What number is Mike thinking of?
7.
No. Question number 6. What is something that you're a snob about?
Probably musical taste. Musical taste. I don't know that I'm a snob about pretty much anything else, but I am very, and I've tried to break this because, to varying degrees of success, but it always rubber bands back to the same thing. But like the genre, the music I discovered as a kid that made me fall in love with music is still my thing. And like, it's, if you were to look at my Spotify and what I listen to every single day, it's basically mirrors the same stuff I was listening to when I was 16. And maybe that's a phenomenon for a lot of people, but I don't know. I just like, I like melodic punk, dude, and punk rock in general. But like my favorite thing is melodic punk. And that's like with Bridge the Gap. It's basically, we're just making music that the kind of music we would like to hear basically is what it comes down to. But certain kinds of newer, we'll call it skate punk, melodic punk, whatever you want to call it, where it's a little bit more like, if you listen to Bridge the Gap, dude, there's plenty, you can hear the like metal influences in it, like licks and different things. But if the songs go too far toward, hey, look at how virtuosic we are, like, and it loses it doesn't serve the song, and it's more flex, and it's more like, I don't know, gratuitous, and there's no soul to the song, then it loses my interest really fast. There's got to be some kind of a soul to it. And so getting back to the snobbery thing, a lot of the stuff I hear nowadays that's in the genre, like the contemporary stuff that comes out, it doesn't fall in the bucket for me. Like it's still punk rock. I get it, but it's not what I would define as melodic punk. It's like it became a different thing.
I can see that. That's when I said before, like the record gave me Bad Religion vibes. That's one of those bands for me that, at least for me personally, really mixed being being punk, but also being really smart and really good.
Oh yeah.
Without like making it to where you, like you said, like it loses the soul. I agree with that 100%. I've always been very much like if it's not for the song, and this gets into like nerdy writer stuff, but if it's not for the song, then what's it for? Like, what master are you serving if not the song? If you're not serving that, then you're serving you, and then you're doing a disservice to the like that's my snobbery coming into
Bad
effect.
Religion, though. Bad Religion is the best. It's my favorite band all time. Always will be.
Oh, nice. Like, then you nailed it, because it gave me No Control vibes for sure. Like the EP did, which I love.
That's rad, dude. That was my favorite BR record for a long time. But
nice.
But yeah, dude. And I don't want it to sound like I'm not crapping on anything that's not in my bucket. I'm just saying, like, snobbery, what speaks to me musically is just I guess it's a little bit more specific. And when I met my wife, I didn't marry, a chick from the punk rock scene. she was like a ranch girl. When we met and stuff, she was like into country and all this stuff. Like we're like a classic case of opposites attracting type deal.
Right.
And so she would try and not try, but over time, you know, you're exposed to it. And I tried to give it an honest effort, listening to some of that stuff, and it's just not for me. Some of it's better than some of the other stuff. Folk music I've tried to get into. My kids' music, like my kids, dude, they're all into this like emo rap thing. I have a bunch of 21-year-old down to like, you know, teenage wise to 14.
Right.
And that's like this kind of like emo rap and just digital music that is made from a keyboard kind of thing. And like, I don't poo-poo it. I honestly want to try and check it out and see what they try and figure out if I can see what speaks to them, you know, like what's it. But I don't get it. But more power to them. You know, I'm not trying to be like my parents who were like, why are you listening to this devil music or whatever, you know?
Right.
I'm like, hey, knock yourself out. But music in particular, I've tried to, you know, grow the boundaries, so to speak, and I just can't do it. It bores me.
You know, there was a study done, and I can't remember. Maybe someone in the comments can link to it or something, or maybe I can find it afterwards, or it'll come to me in the middle of talking. But I can't remember who did it. But there was a study done and a paper written on the idea that people stop seeking out, in general, people stop seeking out and listening to new music around the age of like 30, between 30 and 35. And for whatever reason, there's stats that prove that at that point, whether it's where people are in their lives or just like they're kind of like music becomes a nostalgia thing to them or an escape for them, like to remind them of something. But they just stop looking to new things, and the urge to learn new things diminishes as we get older.
Right.
Which was always super interesting to me. And I know that some of that happens, but there's also something to be said about just like there's a certain sound or a certain vibe or a certain thing that hits you that attracts you to music.
Right.
You know, and it's like there's when we first learn to appreciate music, there's a certain sound to it, and stuff that doesn't do that, it tends to feel like less to us.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, which I always find interesting, because the anti-establishment of our eras is a completely different sound than what is the anti-establishment of a younger era. Sure. Or the generation before us. But there's always somebody being like, well, you know, like I'm trying to see what the connection is, and there is a through line, no matter what the tone of the instruments are or the instruments chosen is. There is a through line where you can find stuff where it's just like, nah, that's the attitude, that's the lyrical content, that's the melody, that's the statement. This person is I dig this person in any genre, for me anyway. But as a rule, like I get that, where it's like you're like, yeah, I'm trying to hear what you're hearing here.
It's like the emo rap thing, and you know, Lil Peep. I'm trying to think of some of these guys my kids love. Anyway, when our oldest first got into it, Ethan, it kind of alarmed my wife, because a lot of the subject matter is like real depressive stuff, and I wouldn't say harm yourself per se ideation, but it's just like in that realm of sadness and this and that. And I'm like, well, let me give it a listen, hun. Let me figure this out. So I listened to it and I saw what alarmed her. But then the guy in me, I'm like, dude, this is no different than like one of my favorite songs of all time, which is called Mind of My Own by Strung Out, which was written by Jim Cherry back in the day, R.I.P. And it's like, you know, if you listen to the lyrics, it's basically finding some kind of motivation from the sadness. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was exactly the same subject matter, just presented in a different way. And so I'm like, well, honey, we could overreact to this and be like the parents that go, oh my gosh, in 1998, my parents or something going, he's listening to this music that's talking about being depressed and, I'm not worth anything and da 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 da. This is not good for him. We got to pull this off, pull this out of his influences. Da da. That would be a gross overreaction. And if it resonates with them, like a lot of times you listen to sad music and it's knowing someone else out there is maybe feeling a way that you felt or have experienced something that you felt
100%.
is actually a comfort that inspires people to change or to keep going or whatever. It's not that they're going, yes, I'm going to go do X, Y, or Z. And so, we ended up de-escalating the situation, but that is a through line, like you said, Jimmy.
Yeah. I think sometimes people misread music when they want to judge it when it's something that's not theirs. And I just remember from like my parents not liking the music that I listen to. And sometimes people don't realize that listening to something you're not listening to something so that it tells you how to feel. You're listening to something so that you're not alone in feeling that way.
Yeah.
Because being alone and feeling a certain way is way scarier.
Yeah.
Than anything when you realize that like, oh no, maybe this is more common than I realize. Maybe it's not as bad as I realize. Like we've said 100 times, like we write music so that we don't jump off bridges. Like there's that thing that's like music saved my life. A lot of people could say that, but it doesn't save it in such a direct way. Like you hear something and go, oh, now I have something to live for. Yeah. It's you listen to it and you go, someone else has been through what I'm going through, or someone else feels the way I feel. I'm not alone. I'm not a freak. I'm not a solitary case. I'm not crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, at the end of the day, people seek it out in different ways, shapes, or forms. But I think ultimately it's validation.
Yeah.
And it's like the ultimate validation of, oh, what I'm feeling is not wrong, is not this, is not that. Like, it's okay to feel this way. I found somebody else who feels this way.
Yeah.
I can feel comforted by that.
And you find your support group in other fans of that genre of that band. And then you find a whole group of people that you lean on each other, and that becomes your tribe.
Your people.
Your tribe. That's right. That's a way to put it. I agree.
So, all right. Well, that one got deep, which I like.
We're going to get even deeper.
So we're going to go even deeper now with question number 7. Final question of What's Your Bacon in 7 questions.
We mine with this one.
We do. So here's where we put on our hard hats and turn the lights on and go spelunking into the cockles of your childlike heart. Chad, how do you feel about garden gnomes?
Garden gnomes?
Yes.
Shit. They're cool. I mean, we don't have one, but whatever. It's
your garden is unprotected.
Is that what they're supposed to do?
I guess.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they're supposed to do?
I believe it's protection.
That's a move.
Protection.
Honestly, bro, I don't think I've ever given it the amount of thought we've already spent on it since you asked the question is like the most I've ever given to garden gnomes.
Nice. You're
the second person today that said that.
But dude, I love I'm into like fantasy novels, been reading that stuff since I was like 14. So if I walk up to someone's door and I see one of those bad boys, I'm just like reminded of The Hobbit or something like that,
Nice. Yeah. Now, what if you see like 12 of those things?
If I see what?
If you see like 12 gnomes instead of just one, do you still go in the house?
I'm definitely going, what's happening here? Who are these people? Why are they like, but see, I was ignorant of gnomes. I didn't even know they were supposed to protect the house. So maybe they know something I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they're under siege or have been under siege and they're just seeking shelter and protection.
That's another.
The other thing I love about this question is that like we've discovered so many different thoughts on possibilities of gnomes at houses.
Yeah.
Like for a long time we were like, okay, if you have more than 5, you're a serial killer. Like you got a Gacy house and they represent souls in your yard, right? But then we were like, well, if you only have 1, then that just then that just
That's
tells
mean.
everybody where you hide your keys, right? Like
Right.
that's all that does.
But if you have tons of them, you're cultivating a community.
Right. Then you have a community. So there's I think whoever has gnomes has a story that is worth listening to. Now you also might want to check the exits and know how to get in and out of the house, or understand like, okay, this I'm going to unlock this window.
Definitely.
While they're in the bathroom, I'm going to unlock this window.
Yeah. How big of a drop is it? Okay, I can.
Right.
I won't break my leg.
But I'm started like we've met people in touring bands that we've asked this to that were like, funny you ask, I paint gnomes in my spare time. Like,
what?
I swear to God, dude, I swear to God.
Yes.
Like, it's the weirdest thing.
Yep.
Hey,
yeah.
Each their own, man.
And we spoke to we got the chance to talk to Eric Bischoff from Pro Wrestling, who just says that like, I have neighbors that have that down the hill, and I use their gnomes for target practice. And I'm like, that is also a hilarious answer that I love.
Yeah.
I do recommend next time you go on tour, whoever you're touring with, you can get a bunch of little gnomes, gnome them, put something in a gear bag. That's
in a rack.
On a rack, yeah. You know,
it's like a rabbit foot or something. Bring you luck.
Yeah.
But like a creepy one that starts to unnerve people when they don't know why they're showing up, which is even better. It's a more fun prank.
Sounds good. Good advice.
Yeah, exactly.
We're trying to spread the word.
Spread the word of gnoming.
Yeah. Well, what we ultimately come here for is the question, what's your bacon?
Yeah. And these 7 are to kind of like loosen us all up, get to know you a little bit, find out a little bit more about kind of how you think and stuff.
Yeah. So for us, bacon makes everything just a little bit better, right? You just add it to the side, crumble it over the top.
Unless you're not a meter, because veggie bacon's not very good. But it's okay.
No.
It's okay.
To each their own.
The idea of bacon.
Or if a plate's put in front of you, it certainly does excite me.
That's true.
So what in your life, like sometimes musicians, that's what they do. That is their job. So
it's not the escape it is for a listener.
Right. So what is your escape? What is the topping cider main course that makes life a little bit easier to deal with? What is your bacon?
Wow. I mean, music has always been my biggest escape, but we've already talked a lot about music. So I would tell you that reading has always been a big escape for me. And when I was a kid, I had this buddy. We'd go, our group of friends, 14. Up to that point in my life, reading was something I was made to do. So I hated it. And we had this buddy we'd go skating with. We called him Prego. I don't remember why, but we called him Prego, even though his name was Ryan. And we everywhere we went, this was back still when your parents had to pick you up and drop you off, if it was a distance. But he'd always show up, and whenever we weren't skating, he'd have this paperback pocketbook. It's just a paperback book, and he'd be reading it, and we'd make fun of him, like, you dork and stuff like that. And then eventually one day I said something to him, and he got pissed, and he's like, tell you what, he was reading some fantasy novel. And he's like, I tell you what, I'll make you a bet, dude. I'll bet you that if you read this book, let's see, what was it? I'll bet you that if you read this book after the first 2 chapters, if you don't want to keep reading it, I'll give you $50. And then conversely, if you do, you get through 2 chapters and you want to keep reading, then you owe me $50. And so being probably the fact that we were inside of the other bros and stuff, I had to take the bet.
Right.
So I took the bet, and the next day at school, he gave me the first book to the thing he was reading at that time. And it was this book called Pawn of Prophecy by David Eddings. And it's kind of like teenage fantasy. It's fantasy, but it's more written for like the teenage reader. Okay. Anyway, so I'm like, all right. So I start reading this thing, and it was a grind because I'd never read anything that I was not made to read, like in school or something, or by parents or whatever. And So the first like chapter or so was a grind, and I got through the second chapter, and I had to be honest with myself. I'm like, damn, dude, I want to find out what
I want to
happens.
know
So
what happens.
I
Yeah.
kept reading, dude, and I lost the bet. But I read that book so fast, and my mom went to the local library and found all the other. It was a 5-book series, so I got them all. And from that day forward, I was a escapist reader. Like anytime I was not doing something, I was reading, and I would look for reasons to just sit down and read. And I became Prego, where I had a book with me everywhere I went. So I would say reading is still an escape for me, although I don't have as much time these days, basically at night, maybe a little bit in the morning, but I love to read.
Nice.
It's awesome.
I love that. Do you have like so I'm not going to ask you for your top 5 because I know like the top things change all the time for me. I imagine they probably do for other people too, depending on your mood. But if you were going to recommend 3 books to people to read to get an idea of who you are.
Man, that's a good one. Well, I would say, I'd have to go Lord of the Rings. The series is like
that counts as one book. That counts as one book.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to read it all.
It was written as one book. Publisher made him split it into 3. I would say Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I forget the author's name. And then I would say, for just like pulpy fiction stuff, there's this guy named Greg Iles, and he is like the best wordsmith in the written word I've ever read. And I've read Lord knows how many books, hundreds and thousands. But his book Natchez Burning, which then spawned a little bit of a series. Those 3, that'd be a fair on the spot. That'd be a fair representation. But unlike like music and stuff, or like your favorite movies, it's a little bit tougher for me to pick like my favorite books. Because I don't know.
What books have you read the most? Like, do you go back and read more than once?
Oh yeah. Well, not everything, but the ones I have read the most is I have gone back and read that same series I was telling you about that got me started. Multiple times. I even read it out loud to my kids when they're children at night. And I do the voices and stuff.
Nice.
And dude, when you're doing that for 350 word novels, it takes some time, my dog.
So
that one, and I will reread my favorites. I've especially in the fantasy realm, because you catch when you read fantasy, I'm talking sprawling. For the most part, it's sprawling. And you really are escaping into this other world, and you're it's world building and it's characters and all this stuff, and it's fantastical and whatnot. But so going back sometimes, and I don't have as much time these days to reread my favorites, but I used to do it a lot because I would catch a lot more too. Because it's just the same thing. You watch a movie twice, you're going to catch different things. Principle, but I do that. Although I've had a lot of people tell me that it's a complete waste of time. You should read something new. Why are you rereading it? And it's more of a comfort thing, it's more of like a
whatever.
Well, I was going to make the
people
like
listen to the same music over and over.
People
watch the same movies over and over.
I was going to say the same. Like you said with the movies and stuff. A lot of people go back and they go, "Oh, I missed this in a movie. I missed this in a movie."
Yeah.
But like as you're reading, and you're basically creating a movie in your mind, right?
Yep.
You're multitasking. With a movie, you're just processing visually, and but like with this, you're reading, you're doing work, but you're also doing work in your brain, and of course you're gonna miss tons of stuff. I'm sure you catch so much cool shit after the fact.
Yeah, and the movie in your head is way better than whatever movie would be made of it.
Well, that's why people are like, "Oh, the book was better."
Right.
Because whatever you created in your mind was definitely better than what somebody else created.
I can tell you, I had an English teacher that had us read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I've read both of those books probably 10 to 15 times each of them. And both of the thing that played in my head while I was reading those books was better than any movie that has come out of either of those ever.
I don't think Hollywood's ever done a good job of really representing those without it feeling campy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I would say the only book turned movie that comes to mind where I felt like, wow, they actually did a really good job of painting the kind of pictures that were in my head is the Lord of the Rings movies. I mean,
Lord of the Rings was
they pulled a few things out that they couldn't fit in and stuff. So, you know, you can nitpick, but I don't think it's ever been done like that before where they just take it right out of the book, dude. It's really well done.
I read The Hobbit before I saw The Hobbit, obviously, you know, either cartoon even. But I did see the Lord of the Rings movies before I read those books, but I did go read the books after I saw the movies. Yeah. And I absolutely love those books. Absolutely amazing.
Well, something else you got to consider too is like a lot of books,
but it's different when you see it afterwards.
Yeah. I think a lot of books, like people go, oh, well, that's not what I really had envisioned as my vision for this book. It really depends on how well the author creates descriptors.
Yeah.
And fleshes out all that stuff. I think that if it's just like hey, this person is, you know, tall, skinny, has braces, like that's okay. That can mean a million things, but like the more descriptors and
you've seen
a lot,
though, you picture the people in the movie. So like
exactly,
I pictured Orlando Bloom.
Right. So like Lord of the Rings has some like major, like real, great descriptors, great like fleshing out of each character, each setting, everything. So it was easier to adapt that to screen because it's like, okay, well,
because he went
it's written
exhausting detail. Yeah.
Well said.
If you ever get a chance to read Jaws, though, man, that blows the movie out of the water, and that's one of the best movies of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not.
If you read Jaws, it's like what? Blows your mind. Blows your mind.
Dude, I'll have to do that one of these days. I have not read it. I'll have to check it out.
It's really good, and the changes they made for the movie, I understand why they made them and everything, but man, the story is it dives you deeper into the personal human story in it as well, and it's just terrifying to read about a shark, a great white shark.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like as terrifying as it is to kind of like know it's happening in the movie. Like it's even more when it's in your brain and you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, reading's one of those escapes for me too. Like I don't read nearly as much as I used to, but I totally get it. And for me, it was like comics growing up. I was a absolute comic book nerd.
Right.
But then when it came to books, it was like, man, like I said, I'll reread. Like I've read Frankenstein and Dracula so many times. I used to read Helter Skelter every year. I had to read it for a class, and it was just one of the most interesting books I've ever read. And so I read that every year, and that book is a trip. Yeah, 100%. And then I read Motley Crue's The Dirt because I was in a band, and I was like, I read every biography of every band that I could find.
Yeah.
And
dude, you know what's a good band biography is the Hepatitis Bathtub, the No Effects.
Yep. It's a really good one. Yeah.
Oh.
What's even better is listening to it on Audible because each guy, you know, you go POV per the chapters break down from the different guys tell their thing. And so on the actual audio, the guys read their own stuff. And so it's funny as hell.
Dude, that's
awesome.
Okay. Highly recommend.
Okay. All right, cool. I did read that book, but I'm going to check that out.
And the Bad Religion, what they call it, Do What You Want, came out a few years ago. It's a good read, but I was hoping maybe they would, because it came out after the Hepatitis Bathtub, so I'm like, maybe they're going to follow the same method. They didn't. It's just some dude, some dude reading it.
I haven't
not just some dude. He's a friend of the band or something. I forget who he is, but anyway, Hepatitis Bathtub, dope.
Nice. Oh, I'm gonna check that out. I didn't read the Bad Religion book. I haven't read that yet.
I am going to check my hoopla.
Yeah,
and that one opens with that opens with a bang too. That book, you're like, oh, that's where we're going in this. Okay.
Oh, nice. All right.
Actually, one book that recently I recommended it to you too, that I really loved was a book called Sellout, and it was about like kind of that turn of time where with like punk and everybody
where
was
like
buying.
each chapter is like Jimmy Eat World, Green Day,
Yeah,
Jawbreaker. Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
yeah, I
It's
love
good.
that. I love
It's a
that
good book. Really interesting how similar all their stories are, but at the same time, in that they're all good. It starts with if you build it, they will come. Like the music has to be there first, but then like how they all get exposed to major labels, because it's the story of major punk bands turning major.
Yes,
but each chapter is a different band story, and it was really interesting. If you're into music or if you've been in a band, it's really interesting.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I remember you mentioned
Yeah,
it,
it's got,
and then I forgot about it. Honestly, I think it slipped my mind.
Yeah, it's got Green Day, Thursday, Jawbreaker,
Nice,
Against Me,
Blink.
Nice. I like all those.
Who else? My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
It's
at the drive-in.
At the drive-in,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I want to see. Apparently, there's a really awesome documentary about At the Drive-In. I forgot what their names escape me at the moment, but like, it's out sort of on the film the festival film circuit.
Okay.
And I heard it's really, really awesome.
Oh, okay. Let's keep my eye out for that.
Yeah.
Nice. For a non-music book that I recommend to everybody, a book that changed my life 100%, The Tao of Pooh. If you have not read it, it explains Taoism in the within the character of Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
But if you are at a point in your life where you're just kind of wanting to learn about living and existing and like who you are as a person, and it's a really good book.
It is great.
I've bought that book for friends so many. Well, I've rebought that book for myself so many times because I've given my book to friends so many times. It's one of those. It's one of those kind of like.
I'll jump on Amazon, get that one coming. The Tao of Pooh.
The Tao of Pooh. Yeah.
Are you, Chad? Are you like a tangible book guy? Like you need book with pages and stuff like that, or are you able to do the digital thing?
I'll listen to books, but doing like what do they call those?
Like the iPad thing?
Yeah, the iPad or the specific things that are for books. I'm having a brain fart, but
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I can't think
anyway.
of it.
I tried it one time, and what I found was my retention of what I was reading was not as good, and I kept having to go back and read, and I just stopped and grabbed the real book. And someone told me, yeah, that's a common phenomenon when you first start doing that. But if you chug through it, like, it eventually becomes like reading anything else. And I was like, eh. But just like with music and gear and stuff, I like the things I love. I want that tactile connection, like opening up a book, you get the smell of the pages.
Yeah.
For me now, that olfactory sense is tied to so much in our brains, and it's like turn something on inside, and it's like, okay, here we go, and then you're off. I don't know. I don't like reading digital at all.
Yeah. Well, if you at all decide to embrace a little bit, the library, your local library, actually probably teams with one of many apps that like I prefer one called Hoopla, and my wife and my kids like one called Libby, and it's basically a digital library, and it has I read all of my graphic novels through that. They have an awesome catalog of like audiobooks and all sorts of stuff. Like I've gone back and listened to audiobooks. Like you were saying, like I don't have time to reread what I have, but like I work from home. So for me, it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to put on an audiobook and redo this highly recommend it.
Cool,
highly
man.
recommend it.
Appreciate the assist. I wrote it down.
Yes. Yeah. Both very cool things.
Nice. Well, cool, man. This has been good. I know we took some of your time today. So before we go, I do want to give the opportunity one more time to let everybody that's listening know where they can listen to the band, what's coming up, what is happening, what to look forward to, like all things Bridge the Gap. Let them know.
So we have a new single that's going to be dropping. I don't know when this will air. So by the time this airs, there'll be a new single called Dustbin, but our album Gainsayer drops April 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And then here very soon, we'll be announcing some record release shows and some dates around the Western U.S. So I would just say connect with Bridge the Gap on Instagram and Facebook, or however you like to follow, and you'll see the updates. But we got some fun stuff coming up. So, and I appreciate the time, guys. It was a fun conversation, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to chat with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for spending it with us. We appreciate it. We always enjoy getting to know people a little bit. So it's good to get to know you. Everybody that's listening, definitely go check Bridge the Gap on all streaming services. Go check out, Gainsayer is coming out April 11th, so be ready for that. But go listen to Secret Combinations now, because it's really good. It's really good. Bro. So definitely check that out. And just remember every day to, when you get up, just ask yourself, what's that thing for you? What is that? That maybe it's reading, maybe it's music, maybe it's video games, maybe it's movies, maybe whatever it is. What's that thing that makes your life a little bit easier, that makes your life a little bit better? What's that thing that brings a little positivity to you, that lets you think, that bridges all the gaps?
Yeah, I like that.
You.
Nice.
What is that thing for you? What's that question, my friend? What is it? What should they ask themselves?
I don't. Chad, do you remember that question?
What's the name of the show?
Oh, bacon is my pod.
And what's your bacon?
My bacon. Well, today my bacon was reading, but it's music. It's so many different things.
Yes.
Nice. And everybody at home, remember to ask yourselves every day, what's your bacon?